Now it's time to add Steve Wilks to the list of teams who want to come after some 49ers players or executives. As you guys already know, today is the day where a lot of people have been fired and or the process for replacing fired executives and coaches has begun. As you've already heard, Adam Peters, 49ers assistant general manager, has been requested to interview for the GM job for the Raiders and for the Washington Commanders. So, what we were talking about earlier today was that we anticipated there might be some coaches who will also be thrown into this mix for potentially head coaching jobs of other teams. And we have it right here. Steve Wilks, 49ers defensive coordinator, according to Mike Garafolo, the Chargers have requested to interview him for their vacant head coaching position. And we have our first domino to fall. Now, again, these are just permission requests. They're asking, hey, can we interview this guy? And I would imagine that the San Francisco 49ers are going to say yes and allow that to occur. But again, the 49ers have had a difficult time keeping their defensive coordinators and even offensive coaches around, as you see in the long list of potential. He could be added to the list in regards to coaches that have had vacated the 49ers DC role for another head coaching job. Obviously, the guys that we look at right now are Robert Saleh with the New York Jets, and we look at D'Amico Ryans in his rookie season with the Texans, who has them in the playoffs and is playing phenomenal ball in regards to his team and what he's been able to do in year one. And as we know, Steve Wilks has so much experience. If I'm not mistaken, he has over 18 years of coaching experience in the NFL as a defensive coordinator or in some capacity. And we know that he was favored, at least inside the building from a player perspective, to be the head coach for the Carolina Panthers as he took over for the interim. But ultimately, the owner of the Panthers decided to go in a different direction, which fell perfectly into our lap as the San Francisco 49ers to allow us to add a coach with the caliber and resume of Steve Wilks. And again, we understand what it was as we are kind of getting to the end of the year and we're doing a bit of year in review stuff. We know that Steve Wilks had a kind of up and down season, but the defense had an up and down season as a whole. It's hard to really just put it on one person. And I think when we look at the 49ers defense in totality, as they continued to progress throughout the year, they got better and they continued to make adjustments and evolve. And we know he was dealing with a very unique situation where the 49ers defensive staff was already set prior to him being hired. And what they were looking for was a coach who could run what D'Amico was running versus bringing in a DC who brings his whole staff, his whole new defense and what he wants to run. And it was like a reverse engineering. So considering those circumstances and considering how well that the 49ers defense has been playing, they have struggled at times and they have been dealing with injuries. And we've seen how impactful, say, an Eric Armstead is to the 49ers run defense and what he does on that interior and just really helps the rest of the guys behind him. You see those effects, and that's not a direct correlation to a DC. And I think if we look and evaluate Steve Wilks and what he's been able to do with the San Francisco 49ers this year, I think we would say it was a positive season for the most part. I think he did a good job. I think he put the 49ers in the best position to be successful based on the way he was kind of evolving through this situation. And everything. Again, this guy didn't even have Nick Bosa all throughout training camp. He had to learn about Nick Bosa on the fly as they got prepared for the regular season. So again, it's not like it was just a cakewalk for him to walk in here and just get the 49ers executing at this crazy high level. There was a process involved, and he did okay. But we did a video on Steve Wilks last week, just talking about where he currently stands in regards to how the defense is playing, where they rank statistically, and all those different things. And he has the 49ers defense in a really good spot. He has them in some of the upper echelon ranks in the entire NFL, and that's a testament to what he's been able to do to come in to this situation. Again, we talked about it wasn't a normal situation at all, and he was able to come in and make it work. Just in this past season, Steve Wilks has the San Francisco 49ers defense ranked 8th in the NFL in total defense. He has them ranked as the 14th best passing defense. And as we know, he's had to make a bunch of different changes. Lost an all pro safety, has had to kind of maneuver and shift the cornerback grouping, starting with Isaiah Oliver to shifting to having Demo kind of in the sliding rotation with Ambry Thomas coming in. There's been a lot of moving parts, and he's done a phenomenal job at that. And he also has the 49ers. I know they've had some struggles recently, but he still has them as the third ranked rushing defense in the NFL and the third ranked scoring defense in the NFL, only giving up 31 touchdowns this season, which would be second only behind the Ravens. So he's been doing a pretty good job, all things considered. Obviously, there's areas for the San Francisco 49ers defense to improve and get better, but he is a guy that is highly regarded in this league. I know the fans kind of came after him and all those different types of things, which is pretty normal of our fan base when, we don't see instant success. And, I would say that had happened with a lot of the defensive coordinators to come before Steve Wilks. Robert Saleh struggled a little bit at first. D'Amico Ryan struggled a little bit at first. So I don't think that's anything out of the ordinary as we continue to look at what Steve Wilks has been able to do for this team. He could be someone that a team could definitely use as a potential head coach. Again, highly regarded as a locker room guy, as a glue guy who could bring people together and do those different types of things. So it'll be very interesting to see if he actually gets hired during this process, which would then have the San Francisco 49ers looking for yet again another defensive coordinator, which could be challenging because, again, I think you've kind of seen how challenging it was for him to kind of come into this situation. Maybe the 49ers promote from within. I'm not really sure, but it is going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. What do you guys think is going to happen with Steve Wilks? Is Steve Wilks going to get hired by another team to be their head coach? Or do you think the San Francisco 49ers will be able to keep him around for at least another year? Because I would imagine if he came back for another year, the defense would be able to be even better the following year, and his name will be thrown around again next year. So what do you guys think about this news with Steve Wilks being asked to basically for the permission to interview for the Chargers head coaching job? Do you think he gets it? Do you think he gets a head coaching job? I want to know all what you guys are thinking in the comments below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.